Hey guys, I was lubing some key switches for a upcoming build earlier today and decided to try something different and do a little instructional content for you. So today I'm going to show you how I lube key switches and a little bit about the philosophy and the method that I use to do that. So today we're going to be lubing some Gateron Milky Yellow key switches. So these are for a budget build. For those of you living under a rock or new to the hobby, Gateron Yellow switches are a medium weight linear switch with a 50-gram actuation and a 60-gram bottom out, so they lie kind of right in between a red switch and a black switch. Widely regarded as a great, readily available budget linear switch. Probably my preferred linear switch that is readily available, especially for the price. I especially like the Milky housings when I'm doing a build in an RGB PCB. I really like how the Milky housing diffuses light, so one of my preferred switches. So the first step, of course, as you've seen, is to break down your switches, and I've already done most of that off camera, but I will show you how to do it. So in each key switch, if it's an MX style switch, let me see if I can get a little focus up close here. You've got these little legs on each side, and you can use a flat bladed screwdriver to pry each of those up on both sides. But even doing the bare minimum, kind of 60%, 61 switches, that rate is painful for sure. So I do highly recommend using a switch opener. You can get these from KBD fans. There's ones that pop up on drop. There's a few different ones. I think I paid $18 for this at KBD fans when they were running a Black Friday special, and it's got sides for both MX style switches and box style switches. So we'll be using just the MX style today. So you'll line up these two pegs with your latches on your MX. Let me do this right side up here. And as you press down, you'll see the top and bottom case housing separate. Just pull them apart there. And then I keep little containers for my top housing, slider, spring, and then my bottom housing here. So I've go ahead and done all that for you today. These are a linear switch, and with linear switches, my preferred lubricant is a 205 grade 0. These are from Novelkeys. It's 205 indicates the viscosity or the thickness of the lubricant. So 205 would be heavier than 204, heavier so than 203 as well. With linear switches, you can go with a heavier lube because you're not going to risk losing any of the tactile feedback because there is none. But on tactile switches, most people want to go for something thinner, like a 203 or a 204. So the first switch, I'm left-handed, so we'll see how this goes, is I like to get a little lube on my brush. Less is more here in this situation, so always clean it off a little on each side. And then the first thing you're going to do is lube the railings that the slider go in. I just give a little 3 swipes there. Turn it around, 3 swipes here. This method is the Quakeum's method from Top Clack. I'm just kind of putting my own spin on it here. I like to go around the center post there. I don't go inside because sometimes it'll get a little gummy if you can get some. We are going to lube the post itself, but it can get a little thick in there easily. So that's as far as the bottom housing is going. Next would be the spring. I just lube the top and bottom of the spring, so just a little. And you'll get a little lube built up here on the side of your jar, and that's usually enough to do something like your springs. Top of my spring. Basically just painting the surfaces there. Just a little. The goal is to reduce friction in all the points where two parts are rubbing together. So where the slider is rubbing against the rails, we've lubed. Where the spring is rubbing against the center post, where the spring is going to rub against the slider itself. So we've lubed the spring, we've lubed the rails. So for right now, we're going to set this aside and we're going to grab our slider here. So you can see those got very straight legs. This is a linear switch. If this was a tactile switch, you'd have a little indentation there that would create your bump. Sorry, I'm not getting really good color on this today. I've tried lubing stations where you set all these up in little rows and try to lube it, but I think the extra time that you spent setting it up, and then most of the lube stations for the sliders, they're held upside down by the cross pieces, and then you got to turn around and figure a way to get that out without touching all your lube surfaces. So I just do each one individually and I hold it by hand. Get my lube here. So like I said, the goal here is to just paint your surfaces with a little lube. I like to do just the sides where my slider is. Spin it around, do the other side. There. Each of my legs. If these were tactile switches, a lot of people will skip lubing the legs on tactile switches. They feel like they lose some of that tactile feedback. And one more surface here. Basically anywhere that plastic is going to be rubbing on plastic is where you want to paint it. And you're just painting it on. You don't want any thick. You almost shouldn't see it. It should just look a little shinier than it did before. So we'll insert our slider back onto our spring, our legs facing our leaf. Alright. And then replace our top housing. Make sure both sides latch on. And there you go. That's a lube switch. Alright guys, if you can see, I've got plenty of more switches I've got to lube before I can finish my build. So I'm going to go ahead and get to that. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe.